Joining us now with more reaction from the Center for Immigration Studies, Mark Krikorian, and Fox News national security strategist Sebastian Gorka. Mark, I want to start with you first. What is this caravan, and who are these people coming to our country?
They're a group of 1,000 or so illegal immigrants, mostly from Honduras, who have been organized by a U.S.-based group, San Diego-based organization that basically is an anti-borders group. So what we're seeing here is a kind of test or a challenge of the administration's willingness to enforce the law. And there are two things that I think need to happen. The administration needs to make clear these people will not get past the border, or if they get in, they're not going to get into the interior of the country. If that requires tent city to be set up on the border, whatever it is, they have to be kept where they are to send the message that this is not going to work. The other thing, and this is something Congress has to do, as it is now, if you're an illegal immigrant and walk up to our immigration inspector at a border and say, hi, I want to claim political asylum, we have to take that seriously and let you in while we do that case. Instead, we need the law to change so that anyone who passes through a country that has its own asylum system, like Mexico, doesn't even get to apply. They just say, sorry, try Mexico. That's where you should have sought refuge, because you're supposed to look for it in the first country you're not being persecuted in.
So, Dr. Gorka, this has been framed as asylum seekers coming to America because they feel like they're being persecuted. The group that organized this is called People Without Borders, obviously a leftist progressive group trying to make some kind of political statement. But can you give us some perspective on how this isn't just an immigration or illegal immigration issue? This is a broader, more comprehensive issue for the sovereignty of the country.
Absolutely, Katie, absolutely. So, whether it's crushing ISIS, whether it's tariffs on aluminum or steel, or whether it's the wall, the Trump doctrine, the Make America Great Again doctrine, is built on the platform of national sovereignty. And this is the most obvious one. I know this is going to make liberal minds explode, but guess what? No foreign national has a right to come to America. No one does. If we don't have borders, the word America ceases to have meaning. We now know, thanks to the leaked speech that Hillary gave during the campaign, that her wish was to have a borderless hemisphere, meaning no borders from Canada all the way down to Central and South America. In that case, America ceases to exist, but these people, Hillary may have lost, but the ideologues, the ideological activists haven't given up. And this is a direct threat to national security, because you can't have a porous border and keep Americans safe. It doesn't matter whether these people want asylum. That border is there to protect us from drugs, from coyotes, from illegal weapons, and guess what? From terrorists as well.
Mark, I want to go back to the point that you brought up about how the law in America is actually working against us here. If an illegal alien is from Mexico or Canada, we can send them back. But if they're from Honduras, El Salvador, a number of other countries, we have to then put them into our court system, give them a court date, which the majority of them do not show up to. So how can Congress act, as the White House has called on them to do today, to change this so we have more control of who comes in and out of the country?
Well, I mean, the difficulty in sending illegal immigrants back who aren't from Mexico or Canada, obviously mostly from Mexico, there's not that many Canadians sneaking across the border, is that with a Mexican, we just take them to the border. The Mexican authorities work with us. You do actually cooperate with us pretty well, and we just send them right back. If it's going to be anyone beyond that, Central America or Africa, Asia, anything, those people need travel documents, passports. They got to be flown there, all of that stuff. And a lot of countries basically drag their feet or simply refuse to take
Mark,
people back.
Mark, what about this fact that coyotes or drug cartels or even maybe corrupt members of governments that these migrants are passing through on their way to the U.S. are being trained to say that they are seeking asylum because they feel like their lives are in danger? What about changes to the law like the Trafficking Victims Protection Act? Obviously, that law had good intentions when it was implemented in 2008, but now we're seeing it being abused over and over again. For example, it was abused in 2014 during the child immigration crisis. Then, how can Congress work today to actually make sure that people can't just say that they're seeking asylum when there's no background check for that to prove that they're actually here for that reason?
And unfortunately, there's no way to prove that, really, because it's not as though somebody persecuting you is going to send you an affidavit saying, yes, I persecuted you. But that law you referred to, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, is for people who are minors and who are trafficked. Now, it's a jargon term, but if you're smuggled, that means you're doing it voluntarily. You've paid, maybe your parents paid for you to be smuggled. Trafficked is some kind of coercion or trickery. You're being used for sex slavery or something like that. The Obama administration used the law that, as you suggested, is a well-intentioned law, but misused it and said, well, these people are all being trafficked, and so we're going to let them all in. That points to a problem that Congress can't see and fix every eventuality. It does sort of matter who implements the law. And if you have an administration like the Obama administration, they're going to take whatever law, however it's written, and distort it and interpret it any way they want.
Yeah, Dr. Gorka, Congress doesn't seem to want to move on anything when it comes to illegal immigration, criminal aliens. What can the president do in terms of his leverage here with Mexico? He threw out the idea of NAFTA being a negotiating piece to encourage Mexico to help us stop illegal immigration into the United States from the southern border. What do you think that he's going to do moving forward to make sure that people are reminded this was a hot issue during the 2016 presidential campaign, and it's a big reason why he won?
Yeah, so it's not that Congress isn't doing anything. Half of them are actually making it easier to undermine our national sovereignty. Let's just look at the recent hubbub on the census. The Democrats were screaming blue murder because we want to know if you're here as a citizen or not. And then they shouted, but that's going to lead to voter suppression. What does that mean, Katie? Whose votes are we going to suppress if we ask you're a citizen or not? Only one group of people: illegal aliens. So, half of Congress wants to see these waves. The Democrats are losing the white vote in America, the middle class, the working class vote. They think the Hispanic vote is the future. So they're actively undermining the president and our national sovereignty. The president could do a lot of things with his executive orders. We've got to stop the catch and release. We've already seen more than a 70% decrease in illegal migration across the southern border. So, allowing our Customs and Border Patrol to do their job helps a lot, but it's not enough.
But Mark, isn't this also a test for the Trump administration in terms of how they react here? Because they know this group of 1,000+ people is coming. I think the way that they react is probably going to be watched by a number of other people who are maybe planning on pulling one of these political stunts as well.
Absolutely. This is probably the most important aspect of what we're seeing with this caravan, is that it's a test and an opportunity for the administration. Are they going to react the way, say, Angela Merkel did, or the way Jimmy Carter did years ago when Cubans started being let out by Castro, and essentially bring about a kind of avalanche of illegal immigrants? Or will the administration draw the line and send the message, this is not going to be tolerated. You are not going to get into the United States if you pull this kind of stunt. So it's going to be, I hope they pass, obviously. I think they probably will pass the test. But it's an important opportunity for them to send the message that it's not just bluster, there's actually something behind the bluster, that we really are going to enforce our borders.
Right. Well, Dr. Gorka, last word to you, but it's very clear that the bottom line is we have no idea who these people are, where they're coming from, what their history is, and there are big questions about the protection of Americans here at home when thousands of people are just walking over the border.
Yeah, Katie, look, it's very simple. The United States is a house. It has a front door. You lock your door when you go to sleep at night. We have a right to control who comes into our house. That's what the president is doing. And I have a word for all these nations that are complicit in undermining our national sovereignty. Donald J. Trump is not a president you want to test.
All right. Well, Dr. Gorka, Mark Krikorian, thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie.